Question is, how do you want to live your life? Buongiorno, my learned friends.
Oh, Papa Homer, you are so learned.
Learned, son. It's pronounced learned.
I love you, Papa Homer.
I love you too, Pepsi.
Peppy.
Peppy.
And welcome to the structured chaos that is the template of now, happily brought to you by the Luck Bubble. What is it? It's just a fun guide to enjoying this, perhaps one and only ride we've got. I'm Kirk Westwood. I'm your host. Once upon a time, I used to travel the world documenting rituals and practices and magic. And then my heart stopped and I realized I was too serious. So now I just make shit up for fun and invite my friends on. Knowing what I know from all the masters that I've sat with, and certainly with a healthy appreciation of all that I don't know. And that's vast. But before we get stuck into it, I'd like to introduce my superstar guest for today, my great mate, a global entrepreneur. He's like a human systems engineer. And I love it. Please welcome my great mate, Derek Leddie. Mate, g'day.
G'day, Kirk. How are you?
Yeah, good, mate. How you doing?
I'm well. I'm looking forward to another wild ride with you, my friend.
Excellent, because, you know, that's all I do these days is wild rides. Now, before we get stuck into things, mate, succinctly, how would you describe what it is you're an expert in? You're an expert in many things, but lay it down for us.
My work's focused on a key principle, which is the outer follows the inner, as in the outer world that we live in is a function of our inner world. So I'm an expert at helping people upgrade their inner world so their outer world shifts in a way that they would like it to shift. You can call it mindset. You could call it lots of things. And I call it a human systems engineer.
I like that because that applies across companies and teams as well, not just individual.
It does. And it also says that we're made up of many systems. We're complex. The human is a highly complex being, and recognizing that there are many systems that make us up and working on the various systems is really important. So I kind of sat with this mindset term for a long time, called myself a mindset trainer, mindset whatever, and with the help of AI, decided to evolve the definition to human systems engineer, and human being the key word these days given AI.
Yeah, right. That's a whole conversation piece that we'll go into. But before we do, there's something I asked you to send me during the week because I love showing what moves people. I love people getting into the mood. And you sent me something, so I'm just going to pull it up here for a moment and you can talk me through it a bit whilst I'm trying to pull it up.
So this is a band called Geese from Brooklyn, New York. And this band just deeply speaks to me in a way that music has never done before. I find it ancient in its tone and its words, but very present.
Here we go. Geese.
I say, but I'll never explain. So you don't have to waste your time. You don't have to waste your time. Hiking up 100 hills. You don't have to, but I will. Wash your head clean when your husband's all down. Will you know what I mean? Will you know what I mean?
Nice, mate. Can we just address the elephant in the room, how good that set was? Is a kindergarten somewhere that got kicked outside for the day because it looks like a kid's library. But how awesome is that?
It's awesome. They bring so many disparate things together that don't normally fit together. And I have loved music my whole life. but I have never been able to embody it, as in deeply feel it, if that makes sense. So, I started in the disco era a long time ago. And I've never really felt like my body can move to particular musics my whole life. But for this one, if I'm on my own, I will just constantly be moving my body to the rhythm of this in a way that I have never done in my life before.
Yeah, a little bit of loosey-goosey maybe.
Yeah, funny you say that. But not in this sort of severe movement, but just this almost American Indian tribal beat, slow,
So-
guitar riffs, and just, man, it talks to me in a way that no band has ever talked to me before. And I'm probably their oldest fan because, I can't imagine there's too many people of my age following and deeply enjoying this band.
I love knowing that about you. Can you talk about the tribalism aspect to it? You think about the consistent threads throughout all great cultures, music, and yet they had their own take on music, whether it's Mongolian wailing or whether it's the beat of a skin on a drum going back thousands of years, using a reed as a flute. It's just in us. It's in us to be of a vibration. It doesn't take rocket science to look at things and go, we are energetic beings having a human experience. And when we can get on the vibration, we're happier. It's in our body. It ain't in our head. This is just a receptive vessel for the vibration. But I dig the way it makes you feel. You sent me some other things too about talking about laughing. And you said something. Could you mind telling people on the podcast what you said about laughter? I said, what makes you laugh? And your instant response was?
My instant response was, I tend not to.
You tend not to, even though I've seen a belly laugh out of you. You tend not to. But why do you think that is?
Well, just to explain it, I absolutely feel joy of life and I feel aliveness in life, but I rarely laugh at life. And we all love to blame our parents in some ways. So this is my blame. My mother was, grew up in a small village in Scotland, and she was scared of the world. And she saw the world as a scary place. And so as a child, everything was, don't touch this, don't do that, be careful of this, be careful of that. And she had no sense of humor whatsoever.
Oh, really?
And it's just taken me a long time to surface beyond that. So I still have not learned to truly deeply laugh. I can do it, but it does not come naturally.
Yeah, it's interesting because you do seize the joy of life. We even did that. We've done the Discovery Days together, and I've seen you in awe. You really get to awe really quickly and joy. But that trigger, actually out and out belly laugh, is an interesting thing. Is it the measure of our lives that we're destined just to come to loving ourselves, realizing that our parents messed it up some way, shape, or form? We all have stuff that's to do with our parents. Why? Because they're the dominant masculine and feminine that informs the way we see the world. And it's our mission in life to realize it means nothing about us. It's just a story. Do you share that same sort of philosophy?
Yeah, very much so. I think life's journey is heavily around rediscovering, revealing, uncovering the real you, which has been covered by life experiences, by significant others, by training of others, by training of society. So I don't see it as something I have to go find. I see it as externally. I see it as something that I have to reveal from within. And I have learned, through some help from you, my friend, I deeply enjoy life and I deeply feel life. But for some reason I'm yet to truly master the bodily experience of laughing. I can smile and I can laugh. Like if I go to a comedian and I find them really funny, I will laugh. But if I look back on a typical week, I really laugh.
Mm-hmm. Do you remember the last time you laughed so hard that you cried and you couldn't breathe?
Nah, I've never done it. Nah.
Yeah, right.
Nah. Hasn't happened yet.
You're right. I have a new mission in life. Just make you laugh until you can't breathe and your abs hurt. I remember being at a Jim Jeffries concert when I was living in LA. Aussie mate said, this Aussie comic. It was just after he'd done the gun piece, the gun control piece that really launched him, which is now studied at Harvard as the only successful argument that someone can have for owning a gun. And he does it with comedy, and it's brilliant, it's beautiful. But there was a guy in front of us who had an asthma attack. He was laughing so hard. He had an asthma attack there. And we had to stop things, and he had to get some medical help. And we were laughing so hard as well. You know, when laughter, you've seen people go laughter to higher laughter to higher laughter. You just can't stop laughing, even when it's inappropriate. This guy's fighting for his life. We couldn't stop laughing. It was shocking behavior. But you can understand that, especially when someone says, don't laugh, makes it even worse. So it's interesting. I might do an episode. I've got a couple of comic buddies who'd like to come on, and we'll explore that laugh therapy. Been trained in some laugh therapy, and I'd like to get you to that stage if you're up for it.
Oh, you bet. I'm always up for it.
You'd be the test. Shit, but do I want to fail on air?
You'd be the test. I would be the test.
You would be. Okay, I've got a mission. Okay, if you're listening to the podcast, just give me a thumbs up if you think we should get Derek to cry with laughter. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of those for all 7 people now that subscribe. See, you can laugh. All right, mate, talk me through the inside job, this rebranding of what you're doing. What are the biggest discoveries that you're finding at this stage in your life for yourself that have changed the way you work with people?
Well, the inside job is aimed at that moment where someone says, focusing on my outside world isn't really working out. There's some inner work I need to do. I don't know what that is. So I wanted to capture that moment in the brand name. So the inside job means going inside, and there's a job to do. I love it. I come from a branding background, and I don't care if other people don't like it. I love it. So it is my brand, and it came from a desire, because my background is market research. So I'm always forever analyzing everything, looking at trends, looking at new language, and then based on that, working out what I want to say and how I want to say it in the world. And for whatever reason, this time, what came to me was, Derek, what do you fucking want to say this time? And
not what you're reading from the market, it's what wants to come from you.
It's what it wants to come from me. And stepping into that energy, my goodness, I have completely re-engineered everything I've been doing for the last decades, because I so strongly believe that the biggest barrier is that people are scared about going inside themselves. And I've decided to address that. I've decided to name a brand at that moment. And sure, there's opportunities for therapists to go and see them, which is absolutely appropriate. And I don't do that sort of work. And, there are other options around sort of spiritual guides and gurus or coaches, and there's mindset coaches and whatever. But I don't think there's a process out there which says, here's a process to follow that can upgrade your inner world in a significant way that's very transparent and doesn't rely on a guru or someone to do it. And, hasn't got an agenda behind it. It's just, this is here to shift. And, I so believe in that our personality isn't permanent. We got caught up in this idea that we have this personality and we can't change. And it's just a whole lot of hogwash. And
you've seen that a lot with your client. The personality is not permanent.
Absolutely. Clients will sort of be slightly cynical when they start the program, and they get blown away. I just came back through Europe, through Singapore, and caught up with a few clients up there that I've worked with who I've never met before physically. So I know them deeply well through Zoom. And one of the clients took me out for this most amazingly expensive dinner, and we shared this incredibly valuable bottle of French red, and just at his such deep appreciation for how his world's changed. It was really just such a lovely little moment of being looked after.
Yeah, you touch on something really cool about the shift in you energetically, that especially with social media, I see the patterns within people dedicated to when the motivation is to try and validate oneself. then whatever step you take to try and do that from that motivation only goes about creating the very thing that you fear. And I saw that with market research a lot. People would go into, let's see what the market needs. And they go way deep into the numbers, but it just propels them back to what they feared over time, as opposed to what is it that I want to offer?
Yeah.
And there is an audience for that. Born of, I don't need validation. This is just what I enjoy expressing. And I love the fact that you went from you being the king of this stuff, being able to go way deep into what the client wants, to then actually know, what do I want to give? Because there's no other end result other than the joy of going down that path. But ironically, it ends up bearing fruit because your vibration, your energy is in that creation phase, creating something into the unknown. As you talked about, people don't like change because they don't like the unknown. They don't like not knowing. It freaks them the fuck out. I've got to get control of this. How am I going to get control? I will do the market research and I will know what they want and I will deliver what they want. But it's just not working, or whatever happens. Yeah, because it's not true for you. And I see it with kids all the time with social media, going after trying to get a validation, and then they get all this hate. And they're like, I didn't deserve this. Well, actually, no, you created that very thing that's taking place. What's your heart want as opposed to what your head thinks it needs to do to be validated. And I love the fact that you've created this work, especially with the journey that you've been on. Sorry, I cut you off, but it's just clear for me.
Yeah, my new website, the opening line on it is the philosophy of the outer follows the inner, and so it starts with a philosophy, which is exact opposite to how you're told websites are used and delivered. And so I think I've broken every rule there is in terms of creating a website that generates income, but I didn't create it for that.
Every rule in the rule book that you wrote.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, good one.
Yeah. So it's a new philosophy of what is it that I want to say, and just stepping into that and being confident and just trusting that this is what needs to happen here, and let's just see what does. And I have to say, I've only launched it a week ago or 2 weeks ago, and some of my most conservative clients have gone, I love it. Like, this is different. So, it feels like maybe there is appetite. Maybe this is a moment in human history where people are willing to start to deeply step into their inner world without seeing it as a problem to fix.
Yeah. AI is great with the objective, and some people think it's good with the creative. It's actually not, because it's not going to know what's in your heart. And the data you feed it, it's only going to reflect that too.
Yeah, and it can't do, what I've learned is it can't do critical thinking, AI. It's really good at taking critical thinking and fast tracking it and bringing really complex data to support it. But I've found it's actually hopeless so far at critical thinking.
The Hans Zimmer quote, AI is a snapshot of the past being sold as the future. It can only reference the past. It can only reference, as you said, things that have occurred or knowledge that has been. Anything it formulates is born of that. It cannot truly create.
And everything that humans have created in this world has been imagined in their mind first. Given imagination means that it hasn't happened, how could a system be able to have that at their core? Maybe it could, but at the moment, in my personal experience, it has been hopeless at critical thinking, but it has been amazing at taking your thinking and fast tracking it.
Yeah, we just in the last week created a AI model to help people, your AI coach for yourself. And I was messing around with it, taking all these data points. But the big data point that's missing is that it's not calling you out. Even if you have a council of different personalities to school you in a certain way, it's amazing the way the ego works in not providing the true information that's required for you to call you out on your stuff consistently. And that takes, what I believe, intuition is one of the greatest tools. As we've worked together for 5-6 years now, and it's one of the greatest tools. It's way outside of the realm of what we'll think. Like, where does that come from? but it's the truth. It's not me telling anybody anything. It's just left in the middle of the table. How skeptical were you when we first started training together? Like, how skeptical were you of my intuition?
Well, I loved your brand name.
The Luck Bubble back in the day.
The Luck Bubble.
First came back from the States.
I loved it. I loved it. I loved the brand name, and I loved, who you had studied with. So there was some sense of stepping into your space. But sure, there was no doubt there was skepticism around, not around you, not in any way of feeling that there was anything not robust around you, but how much could I extract in terms of value out of it? Like, would it just be a fun ride, or would there actually be some true deep value out of it? And, I got enormous value out of you, my friend.
Yeah.
I got things unlocked that others couldn't and couldn't see and couldn't feel. And yeah, I'm extremely grateful for you finding me, or I finding you. I can't remember what happened. And but you and I went on a road trip in a car recently, and you picked me up in Byron Bay, and we drove for a couple of days, and we camped under the stars. And it's just sitting in trust that something good will come from this experience, and it always does.
It always
There's always something that pops up that is of deep value.
Right. The hardest thing being that you can't sell people on the unknown. What's going to happen? I actually don't know, but it's going to serve the highest good in ways you can't fathom. Oh, I'm going to need to see some data on that. Well, okay, we can only talk to people who've done it before, because every single one of them is different. And what we get and where we go is different. It was a difficult thing for me too, in the business of it, to sell it, but also realize that I was stuck in that realm of martyrdom myself, as I could help people, but no one could help me. And then with this change of life that you've actually been a wonderful part of as well, using your skills as a reflection to me. It's interesting, that discovery day that we did out in the wild overnight, and I remember the storm coming through, the electrical storm, and they were sleeping out under the stars. We could hear that. First of all, I could hear the cattle start to low. Do you remember that? That noise? The cattle were lowing, and there was a cackle in the air, and then I could smell it. But it was a good 150, 200 kilometers away, easily. So it's on its way here. And then I said to you, oh yeah, by the way, we're sleeping next to a lightning rod. Do you remember?
I do remember that.
Josie's got that lightning rod in the ground that he set up, which has amazingly cleared the area energetically, and now it's this fecund area of life that was once barren. Amazing stuff. I've got to get some details. I'll post them in the description here of the stuff that he uses. Stand by, mate. I've got a bit of a surprise for you here. Stand by. Let me pull this up. A bit of a surprise. Here are some shots from our discovery day. I don't think I ever gave them to you, mate, but here we are. Little hut that we ended up in. Little shower out to the right.
Yep.
You don't want to be too short using that shower. Otherwise, it serves no purpose whatsoever. Everyone can see your junk. They just can't see your face.
I'm not sure which one's worse.
Great little cabin we ended up in. Thankfully, it was there for us, even though we were sleeping out under the stars. It's such a beautiful spot in northwestern New South Wales.
That's where we saw the platypus, wasn't it?
That little hole just there. Remember that? And remember those discovery days? And I said to you, every single time I do a discovery day, the animals speak to you in ways that you can't imagine. And it's always, they go back to the Aboriginal meaning of that animal at that time. And it's always quite profound. Do you remember that?
I do. We actually listed the number of animals we saw. And I think it was in the 20s, wasn't it?
Yeah. What did we see? We saw
a turtle on the road.
That's right.
We saw goats. We saw
koala,
kangaroos.
Only about 15 foot off the ground in a tree at the car park in Byron Bay before we even started.
Yep.
Platypus, which is so rare for those foreigners watching this. Most Aussies will never see a platypus in the wild.
No.
Extremely rare. And I do remember as the conversation progressed, as we're digging into what goes on for you in that 24-hour period of that discovery day, the animal always turned up perfectly on time to be what we were talking about. And I can't explain in the way it works, but at every single time, the land talks to you in a way you can't imagine.
Yeah, and the glossy black cockatoos as well. We got them.
That's right. That's right. Beehive therapy pod. That was very cool. You lie on top of the bees and their vibration and their scent makes you hum. And when you come out of it, you feel like you've been reborn down by the waterhole. The next morning, getting up, having a dip in the creek. How good's that?
That was brilliant. Oh,
That
that was
was
fun.
Right? Hey, just catching some sun on the face. The blood tree. Remember this?
Oh, yeah. That's
The
right.
tree that bleeds. And it's only one particular spot, and there's Aboriginal legend around it, which we won't go into. But again, perfectly on time for what you were going through at your particular moment. They were good times. Again, so beautiful. There we go. There's the lightning rod that goes way deep down into the soil, and it has just changed that landscape in that immediate area. I'll try and find a link for people if you want to know some more about it. I'll get some stuff up. And of course, the setting. What was your biggest takeaway from the Discovery Day?
A number of things. One, it was a while since I'd been on the land and just deeply appreciated being back there, sleeping under the stars and just reconnecting to that sense, which was really powerful. The most important thing I got from that, not to take responsibility for others. So too caught up in worrying about other people's stuff. There's a little bit of I am good at what I do and I can, given the work that I'm in, which is constantly helping others shift their lives in much bigger ways, you can sort of get caught up in that of taking on other people's stuff. And I have become so good at that.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't try and solve things anymore. And I don't try and push things anymore. There's no pushing by me anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So I look very much more for the timing and for the, flowing with the river. Just watching and waiting for the river to start to flow and then flowing in that direction with it. And that has freaked a lot of people out around me who know me.
Change. What does that mean about me? What does his change mean about me?
Mm.
I can relate.
But I've even impressed myself. Like, normally I would step in and resolve stuff, and I just don't do it anymore. Just go, it's not my job, not my role.
Yeah, I can relate. And you're allowed to say it and we're allowed to talk about it. I think maybe you're hedging around it. But the moment you remember the most is us getting pulled over by the cops on the way home.
Yeah.
Yeah. And because that moment was where it crystallized for us. And I never know the way it's going to happen, but there's a moment in the Discovery Days where it all comes together. This is the moment that you leave yourself. And it played out for you and it played out for me perfectly at that time. That was so in-depth in conversation. And with a lot of other stuff going on, road changes and traffic in front and coming the other way and a whole bunch of other stuff that happened, that I ended up in a work zone that wasn't being worked on. There was a 60K and I went, wow, Struth. We just gone from 100 to a 60 zone. And I started braking with everything going on. And a copper was coming the other way right at that moment in time. Yeah. And he pulled us over. And I'll never forget that moment because I realized that was the moment that I leave myself. It's my brilliant skills of intuition right at that moment before we got pulled up. It was like, this is the moment that you leave yourself. But that was the moment that I was leaving myself because my self-worth was based in what I could do for other people. And I'm only as valid as if I'm coming up with the genius stuff, the intuition. I'm not doing what I love. I'm doing what I need to be validated. Yeah. And at that moment in time, ironically, but we shared that moment. I will never forget that. And that's the beauty of it. Was that your recollection of it?
It was. I probably have a slightly different twist on my learning from that, which was not so much about trying to get validated. It was a shift for me from no longer trying to control things. So it was really an acceptance of me just being part of a system and really just recognizing that there's no need for me to be the person that orchestrates everything, that there's a system out there and there's a different way of working, and to start to look for that system and start to work with it, as opposed to me being separate from the system and pushing it. So slightly different, similar, but just slightly different from me. I don't think it was so much validation, but it was really letting go of me thinking I was separate from the system.
Yeah, right. You named it so well. I'm going back several months ago now. But the moment being the same, the moment we leave ourselves is such an incredible discovery, because that's the watershed moment.
Yeah.
Even though we had the same moment that we leave ourselves, those different explanations of it, you with control and me with validation. But thanks for that. It seems like the perfect segue for me to give a shameless plug, which is I'm actually back on the tools, mate. I'm actually back to doing some reads again. As much as I didn't think I was ever going to do that again, it's just obvious that with the different perspective that my heart failure and the journey I've been on has given me, it doesn't mean anything about me. And that's opened up a whole can of worms. So rather than $2,500 for a session, these days it's just $500. People, if you're listening and you want a session, get into the link in the bio, click on that, just tell me what you want insight into, whether it's your true nature and purpose, or where you leave yourself, or what your misbehaviors are, or a particular problem. Put that down in there. I'll have a chance to tune in to see if it serves the highest good. Because sometimes, as you know, it just doesn't. Can't say why. It's just timing just isn't right. But if anyone's interested in that, hit me up. It's only going to be $500 for an online video session, as opposed to $2,500, which is what I used to charge. And then the discovery days, that's a bigger thing. Like, we're going deep. Like, Derek and I went overnight. Sometimes we go from 6 a.m. through till late at night, and we go out into the wilderness. But they are life-changing days. If anyone's interested in that, they're joyous, laughter-filled, awe experiences. But I can't tell you what's going to happen because we just don't know. And that's the beauty of it. I have a saying, the unknown is the dance floor of the gods, and the price of admission is surrender, because that's the only way it works. Handing yourself over, saying, I don't know. Yes, so shameless plug. Get on the description and click on the link in the bio and, pay for my podcast. Because intuition keeps on telling me to do this thing. I'm like, what? Okay, so just keep on showing up. But then it's a great conversation with blokes like you. Okay, so thanks for that, mate. Okay, so next up is the segment I like to call Idea of the Week. And the idea of the week this week is the razor's edge, straddling yin and yang. I'm going to pull up the symbol for you. Just say you've all seen this symbol. Okay, let me talk you through it. It represents the fundamental Taoist concept of universal oneness and dynamic balance at the same time. It illustrates how opposing forces, such as dark and light or passive and active, are interconnected and complementary, constantly giving rise to one another in the natural flow of the universe. No rigidity in it. The core elements are, of course, the circle on the outside represents the wholeness of the universe and the continuous cyclical nature of time and existence. The divided halves, the dark, which is yin, and the light, which is yang, has a curving line between them that is almost imperceptible. There is no separation. It's just in a moment, as finite as finite, it becomes the other. And the teardrop shapes convey motion, implying that as one force wanes, the other waxes to maintain balance. Now, yin, the dark side of things, is traditionally associated with the shady side of a hill, represents femininity, earth, cold, stillness, the moon, and receiving, the chalice. Whereas the yang, the light color, is associated with masculinity, heaven, warmth, activity, the doing, the sun, and like initiating, the masculine, the doing. The dot symbolizes that no phenomenon is purely yin or yang, that everything contains the seed of its opposite. It also provides the catalyst for transformation. When a force reaches its extreme, it transforms into its opposite. Now, it's an interesting part of the symbol is that the light inside the dark inside the light is the highest representation. If you go all the way into the white, it becomes the black. If you go all the way into the black, it becomes the white, or the yin to the yang. And that's an important concept because the Taoism, T-A-O, the Tao, or the way, as it translates, is the line between them. It is the straddling of the yin and yang. And that, my friends, is a gift to understand this about oneself. The true balance isn't a static 50-50 split. It's a dynamic act of straddling these two opposing forces. And most leaders I come into contact with think growth requires perpetual push, but real capacity lies in knowing exactly when to drive and when to drop the brace and receive. When you came into the wild on your discovery day, mate, we didn't eliminate your drive. We found the counterweight to it. By balancing that inner architecture, the outer, the luck bubble flowed, and that's why I chose this topic this week as the idea, because it's with the new branding you've got. It's all about that inner work so that the outer can flourish. It's the inside job, literally. So the mystics taught that the highest state of human mastery is wu wei, or effortless action. And you only find it when you straddle the line, the Tao, the way, allowing the stillness of yin to fuel the power of your yang. And science is now proving that this is actually the peak of neurological fitness. Living purely in yang keeps you trapped in the sympathetic nervous system, fight or flight, leading to contraction and cognitive tunnel vision. I've got to get it done, I can't, I just got to get it done. Where dropping entirely into yin puts you in deep parasympathetic rest. The sweet spot, the razor's edge, is high heart rate variability. People talk about with their watches now, monitoring their HRV. Like, I'm trying hard to get it down by doing all the yin exercise. It's not the yin exercise that actually gets HRV down. It's the straddling of the two. It's the flow. It's the elasticity. HRV, heart rate variability. It's how your heart rate can actually be so relaxed that it varies in its microseconds of difference between one beat to another. So your entire equation is built on this, D. Like, the inside job to me is contraction to restoration to expansion. Correct me if I'm wrong. You work with leaders who are profoundly unbalanced on the side of the push. Yeah?
Absolutely. Their energy, their focus, everything is on trying to influence or control the outside world. It's what their education's taught them to do. It's like they look at the outside world and they try to manipulate it in the way they want it to move, not realizing that their inner world, their thoughts, their emotions, the way they talk to themselves, how busy their mind is, how activated their nervous system is, how good they are at managing their emotions, all of those create a filter or a lens at which they see the outside world. So they're only seeing their version of the outside world based on their inner world construction. So if they want to change their outside world, the simplest thing to do is change the inside, and the outside world will reorganize itself around that. So, and unfortunately, we live in a world where that is not taught. It is the belief is that we have to push ourselves and compete in the outside world to be successful. It's just a misunderstanding of how the whole system works.
How do you get them to take the courage to take that step? Because what I find is it's the denial of, it's the hero's journey. It's the refusal of the call. There's always the call to it, but you refuse the call. But if you don't step up and have the courage to step over that threshold, it usually ends in illness, broke, relationship damage, whatever it is that's irreparable. They usually only come to us when it's broken.
Yep.
But how do you get them to that threshold and take the step?
Well, part of the new brand is to step into helping people make that step. And I don't necessarily have all the answers at the moment, because even the Yoga Sutras, the first sutra, which is the psychology behind yoga, it says when you're ready, this is what you do. It never goes into how do you get someone ready. And as a matter of fact, most ancient philosophies don't address getting people ready. So, part of the reason why I'm fired up is to try to help solve that and get people more ready. So one of the things I'm doing is I'm getting CEOs that I've worked with to share their inner world of what their inner experience was. I call that the inside story. So I'm hoping through those stories and sharing those stories, people will start to realize the power of this work, and that, being scared of it is irrelevant. It's not necessary, because if you actually think about it, it makes no sense, because why would we not step into doing work on our inner world?
Yeah.
And it's only fear. Well, it's the fear. It's the ego that wants to control things, and it wants the next day to be understood and doesn't want change. It is the deconstruction of the ego by going inside. So the device
Scary unknown.
Scary, and it doesn't want you to go. So as long as the ego's in charge, you're not going to go there. And it's interesting. I've had CEOs who go, Derek, I know I need to change, but I don't want to, because the recipe for being successful in the outside world, as in making money, gathering resources beyond their needs, they've done that really well. And they're worried that by doing some work on the inside, it's going to shift that external recipe, even though they are completely miserable with their life.
Right.
They won't go there. The next one is that they've buried their past. Events have happened in their past that they haven't really dealt with, and they've believed that with time things will get better and move on. But the reality is it's just buried. They haven't digested their events in a way that's helpful for them. So
yeah, the measure of a great life, I believe, is how you lived it, not what you achieved. No one gives a fuck. And
I agree.
My question to people is, how do you want to live your life? And often people come to us are incredibly successful, but how do you want to live your life?
Yep.
And it's just scary to you because it's the unknown. Meaning of life, know thyself. Let's take you on the journey. And it doesn't have to be all doom and gloom and tears and ayahuasca journeys and throwing up. And no, they have a lightness to it. If you want it to be hard, it can be hard. Or we could simply have a play here and make it enjoyable. But your resistance to it means you're already expecting it to be shit. Therefore, what is it? It's a shit journey. Question is, how do you want to live your life? How do you want to live?
Yeah.
I love what you're doing, mate. Love it.
Yeah, I love those words. I use, how do you want to experience your life?
Right.
Because
that's choice.
Because it's a choice. And people don't think they have a choice. They don't understand. And what's so interesting is that science is now starting to validate this idea that we only see and experience life based on our past experiences, based on who we think we are. And we can change that experience of life. We're only seeing a fraction of life of what's really happening out there based on our experiences.
Right. The problem is not there's all this information. I can only focus on a few things. The problem is I'm looking for the same information to validate the way I see myself in that one very narrow view. And if it's not there, I will misbehave in a way that will create that very thing. This is the meaning of life. Your view of the universe through your eyes is this thin. When you've got all of this 360 view around you that you have no idea about, and you're scared to get out of this view. Scared to get out. I remember, mate, when we first met and you were going through it then, I'd categorize as a brutal awakening into yourself.
Yeah, I was really struggling to step into believing that I could influence this outside world that was being extremely challenging. And with your help, I stepped into that courage, and I stepped into influencing that by changing my internal world and changing how I felt. So I dropped the worry and I dropped the nervousness, and I stepped into believing that I could influence the situation, and that shifted everything. And certainly without your help, it wouldn't have. I don't think we would have necessarily got there. But I think there's a learning as well in that for me was, working with a team. There were a few on that team who did not want to change. They did not want to do the work, the inner work. And to be fair to them, they should never have been asked to. And I have learned, number one thing I've learned from that is never work with anyone unless they want to change.
Yeah, that dynamic I came to, the only way I could work with teams, elite teams, sports teams, is that I would do a read on the group first. So I do typically a 90-minute session with a football team, and I've got them within a 40 by 40 yard square. But I get all of the staff of the team to stand on the outside, and I put them through stress positions. They do as I say, not do as I do, to get them to understand the luck ball, which is there's no room for emotion in combat. Just get the job done. You're too fragile as an athlete. Your mental space, you've got the ability, you've just got this stuff on top of it that's getting in the way. So I highlight their inability to deal with that in a group setting that puts them under extreme amounts of pressure. And then I go away from that session and I ask the staff what's obvious. And they name the players who don't want to change. They name the players who aren't ready to put emotion aside to get the job done for the team. And they'll say to me, what do we do? We've dropped $10 million on this bloke. But he's the cancer. How do we not see that? Right? He's great talent, but his ego's never going to be in it for the team. So, well, he's got 28 days to change. And I'm the sourcer. We do some work together individually away from the group to show them. And this is what will happen, is that they either change or they leave. They say, he won't leave because he's under contract for 5 years. We can't. I said, just trust me. They will find a way to get out of this because they can't stand the light being shone on them. They can't stand being exposed. They're either ready for it like you were and called out on your action. And you had that deep, dark night of the soul. I go, holy shit, the stuff that's going wrong in my life is actually my fault. And it hurts. But you got the support there to go, we can work on this because also this is your greatness. This is your good stuff, but this is just your shit. Meaning of life. No, they say, this is the threshold. Do you want to step over it? And those who do go on to change that team. Those who don't, they leave. They go to their agent. I don't give a fuck. I will pay them to leave this contract because they're all idiots. It's them, not me. And that's the only way I could go ahead working with teams.
Yeah.
But again, it was a painful experience, just like you, to understand that just because it's the truth doesn't mean it serves the highest good at this point in time in this environment. And you guys went through that.
Yeah.
Wow. The changes in you, mate. I mean, I'm in awe. 5 years. 5 years of knowing you. The change. And now stepping into this new realm of work, going after what your heart would love. Is it the journey of a man's life to do all this stuff and make it all up and make all the mistakes so we get to this point of the age of evaluation where we go, this is my true work. And I can forgive myself for all the mistakes that I've made and love myself in a way that I can just go, yeah, this is what I'm given. This is how I want to live for the rest of the days that I've got. The wisdom. Youth, it's wasted on the young.
It doesn't belong to me anymore. One of the things that this new brand represents is cleanness from the past.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yep.
I want to remember the great days of the Rabbitohs in 2014, premiership after 43-year drought. And I want to remember we were working with the St Kilda IFL team who had come last in 2014 and had lost 13 games in a row. And one of their losses was their biggest margin loss ever. And working with that very young group of men, which was an incredible climb back up the ladder. And I don't really want to give that other project any more energy. It's had way too much and, time to close the door on it, I think.
Right. The inside out. Good work.
Yep.
Okay. Right. Well, thanks for that, mate. All right. So next up is a segment I like to call Dear Dickhead, which is a candid letter to oneself. What would you tell yourself as a 16-year-old, mate? What would you say, Derek Jr., blah?
Well, I'm probably not going to answer it the way you might want me to answer it, and I'm jumping to a judgment there, but...
Because if you get it wrong, I'm just cutting the interview. It's not the way I want it.
I would tell that young version of me how much they are deeply valued and deeply appreciated and deeply loved and deeply listened to, and how they were just perfect. That's
So,
what I'd
dear
like to
dickhead,
say to them.
you're not a dickhead.
You're not a dickhead. You never were, and you were enough back then, and you're enough right now. And what we do in our history, we can laugh at, we can look at in many ways, but I think it's really, one of the critical things is to go back and build a strong relationship with that young version of ourselves that often wasn't supported and wasn't listened to and wasn't validated in terms of how they saw things. And that's just the reality of how we grow up. It doesn't have to be significant trauma at all for people. There can be what was missing was just as important as what happened. And I want to tell that little fella that he's deeply loved and deeply appreciated.
Awesome, mate.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. Dear dickhead, you're not a dickhead.
Yeah, you're not a dickhead. You
Wise
never
words.
were.
Wise words,
Never were.
wise words. Awesome. Mate, rolling right along. I really enjoyed the conversation. In the interest of time, though, we're going to head towards meditation of the week. Let's bring it all back in with a physical experience of dynamic balance, like we talked about before with the yin and yang. Just a little 5-minute meditation. Are you up for it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Here you go.
Love it.
Okay, so everyone get comfortable in your chair. Put your feet flat on the floor and get yourself snuggling. Do whatever you got to do. Put your phone down, take your glasses off. All right. Take a big breath in. Feet flat on the floor. Take a big breath in and just let it all go. Take another big breath in. Let it all go and close your eyes if they're not closed. Breathe it all the way out, all the way out, all the way out. Now all the way in again. And hold it at the top. Hold it. And let it all go. Let it all go. All the way out. Breathe it out. Breathe it out. Now another big breath in. Hold it at the top. Hold it. Suck a bit more in. Hold it. And let it all go. Now just relax and enjoy your breath. Every breath taking you deeper and deeper. My voice taking you deeper and deeper. Feel the weight of your body where you're sitting or standing or lying. Just feel the weight of your body. Now I want you to bring awareness to your drive, the active, planning, forward-leaning yang energy. Feel the slight tension, the focus, the heat of it. Just feeling it in your body and mind. Just acknowledging it without judgment. This is your yang, your drive. Now, breathing in. As you breathe out next, take a long, slow exhale and drop completely into the background. The quiet, heavy, receptive yin stillness. Let your jaw unclench. Let your muscles go soft. Just enjoy feeling this space of pure restoration. Let it go. This stillness is your yin. And now as you take another breath in, on the next breath in, as you breathe in, inhaling smoothly, feeling the clarity and presence of yang rise up. And every in-breath you take, feel the clarity and the presence of yang, the doing, the planning, the active rise up within you. Every smooth inhale, drawing yang up from your perineum, up through your body. And now every exhale, feel the deep grounding and release of yin pulling down from your crown and down. Every exhale, feeling the release of yin pulling down. The yin pulling down on every exhale. Now as you inhale, feel the yang rise up. As you exhale, feel the yin pull down. Inhale, yang, doing, up. Exhale, yin, receiving, down. Do this 4 or 5 times. Smoothly in, the yang rises, the doing, the heat. Exhale smoothly, down, grounding, release. And now focus on where they meet in the middle of you. That imperceptible touch between the yin and the yang in you. As you breathe in and out, at the stillness at the top of your breath and the stillness at the bottom of your breath, feel yourself straddling the razor's edge. Stopping at the top. Balance. Stopping at the bottom. Balance. This constant dance. Ebb and flow, that you are duality personified. This is the Tao. This is the upstream origin of your capacity, is to have both available at any time. You don't need to force your outcomes. This balanced infrastructure that you feel now ripples all over your body. This balance is in every cell, mimicked over and over again, billions of times to find balance in each cell. This stability to handle the pressure and the stillness to see the possibilities. Take one big, long, final centering breath, drawing it all the way in anchoring this feeling of dynamic balance into your core. And let it all go. Another big breath in and hold it at the top. Hold it. Feel the balance. Now let it all go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Eyes open, wide awake, fully alert, feeling fine, in perfect health, feeling better than you did before. Feeling the balance. Mate, thank you very much for joining me today. Always enjoy our conversations.
Yeah, I enjoyed it too, mate. It was lovely seeing you. And I'm really happy you're back into this space again. You're very good at it. And I think people need an option like you provide, which is very rare.
Option D.
Yep, the luck
Thank you very
bubble
much.
option.
Thank you. And
Welcome.
to everyone out there, remember, nothing means anything about you. It's an inside job, as my great friend would say. Have a great week. Lots of love. Ciao.